Howdy guys, David Duford here to talk to you about why new final expense agents should not create their own final expense script. The reason that I'm putting this video together is to provide some very vital and important guidance for those of you agents who are getting into the final expense space, or maybe you've just started. And it's very important to understand the nature of this business, learning the fundamentals, and avoiding the biggest pitfalls that are available. So if you're interested, again, my name is David Duford. I own Duford Insurance Group. You can go to davidduford.com/FAQ to learn how we train agents to sell final expense, Medicare, annuities, and ACA. So again, the purpose of this video is to kind of give you my thoughts as somebody who's trained agents for nearly 10 years, over 3,000 agents, many of them in the final expense space, both telesales, both over the phone, to give you my rationale and why new agents should not take any time whatsoever thinking up their own final expense script. So first of all, one of the things that I talk a lot about in this business is the importance of fundamentals. I like to think that of all of the YouTubers out there and the influencers in the insurance space, that I kind of preoccupy that OG fundamentals type of person who preaches the basics till my eyes bleed, because the fundamentals are critically important to mastery of this business and develop kind of like a deep understanding and intuition of how to execute with success. And also the fundamentals are the kind of things that work mostly for the broad group of people, all from different walks of life and different backgrounds. So it's important to understand, again, when you come into this business, it's very much like doing an activity in sports. You want to learn the fundamentals of how to execute, because if you don't learn the fundamentals from the get-go, it's going to make what we would call training scars and make it very difficult for you to perform at higher levels later on when you've embodied this particular approach and you've kind of worked yourself in a position where doing the fundamentals is less intuitive because you've spent a lot of time not doing them. So one of the things, I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why, again, I don't think new agents should do this. Number one, again, the fundamentals matter, and let's face it, you don't know them yet. When you are new to this business, you don't know anything. And that's me not trying to like agitate you, but you should be painfully aware that you have ignorance. And ignorance is okay. You're supposed to be ignorant when you start. That's why you look at my videos, or you do your research, you take time to train to then become knowledgeable and understanding. But when you come into this business, and if somebody suggests you just make your own script up, and even if they say kind of follow these basic overarching premises, the problem is you still operate from the standpoint of ignorance. You don't know what you don't know. And a person left to their own devices to figure things out when they don't know what they don't know is liable to cause more problems than not. The other thing too that I think is important is that this is why it's vital to just depend upon something that has already proven to work. Because as you get into the business of selling final expense, what you don't understand, but you certainly will very quickly, is that this business is more complex and difficult than it first appears. You know, people like me who've been on YouTube for a long time, and those out there who recruit and use YouTube or do opportunity meetings, we're all like really good salespeople, probably exceptionally good, better than the average. So we know how to pitch things in an appealing way. And we know how to make the complicated appear simple. And while that should be a good goal to make the complicated simple, the problem is ultimately that when you start this business, it's going to be overwhelming. And the last thing you want to do is think creatively when you don't have the skill set and the experience from selling final expense to then create a sales script that's supposed to convert a prospect into a buyer. What I advise instead is just use a script that has been proven from a top producer. Don't take the time to try to figure out the script. Don't take the time to try to like write the thing. Just use a script that has already been proven to work to shortcut that knowledge requirement, to then instead focus your time on the execution, the performance, the tonality side of the script, which is very, very important, on top of the product knowledge and the underwriting. Again, you have a limited bandwidth of focus, and we want to pick and choose what matters most. And one of the things that can totally disrupt your ability for success is to focus that effort in incorrect ways. And trying to create a script as a new person is a bad use of your time and energy that'll likely result in less success and more failure. Now, continuing on as we go through here, again, some things about scripting too. The fine details matter in a script. Words matter. How you say one word matters. The silence matters. The continuation of your opening script, not pausing, matters, for example. But you as a new agent probably don't appreciate that. You probably aren't aware of that. And again, for example, if you're tasked with creating your own script, then you're going to miss out on some very important nuances to performing and executing the script that you would not necessarily have automatically picked up if you utilized the script that you created on your own. But here's something that will happen. I will say this. One thing that happens as a new agent, as you actually follow a script you're given, and you perform the presentation dozens of times, is you start to embody the essence of what the script is. And you start to not necessarily say the script word for word, but the script turns in from a word for word rehearsal into more of, I would say, like an idea or a concept that you're following, but you're kind of doing in your own way. So again, that's kind of the reason why a lot of people don't like some scripts, because it doesn't sound like them. Well, sorry, you're likely going to do things in a sales conversation from a communication standpoint that is unnatural and abnormal when it relates to normal conversation with human beings. What we're trying to do here is take money from people who are strangers. And the art of actually communicating is going to be different than just talking to some random stranger down the street, which is why reading some words and the sequence in which they go are going to seem abnormal, unnatural, or awkward. My advice is just to suck it up and do it anyway. And what you'll find is like I said earlier, is that it'll become easier to do this thing and to basically think of the script in a fundamentals term, like what are we conceptually trying to accomplish when we open up the telesales call? What are we conceptually trying to accomplish as we're trying to pre-qualify and build rapport? So you'll be able to perform the conceptual fundamentals, but also think on your feet better and react and do things in your own words and own way. So there is that element that will be introduced into your scripting. And that's okay. That happens normally after you have disciplined yourself to follow the script as it's written. But, of course, to hyphenate this particular reality that does happen, the one thing you want to be worried about as you start to develop your script is that what intermediate agents tend to do is, because their confidence is up as they've had success, they start to subconsciously alter the script and begin to justify why they're altering it and using their experience to justify it. So you got to be careful and aware of that you may start to say, well, that person was broke, that's why I didn't rebut the objection. Well, the truth is you don't know anything when you're calling a person. Just because they said they're broke doesn't mean they're really broke. And you're not following the fundamentals because you think you know better. So you got to be very aware of that and try to avoid that temptation to justify why you did a certain thing a certain way because of intuition or because of experience or anything like that. So it's an unusual enterprise, this business of doing scripting. And this is why it's imperative for you to actually sit down, read, rehearse, practice, role play a given script from a trusted coach and mentor in the final expense business, and think of nothing else or altering it until you've done, I would say, 50 to 100 presentations minimum, even if you ever alter the thing. It's arguable that it's best just to do what you're told and, again, shut the brain down from thinking and focus instead on executing, again, the kind of given model that works across the board. Because ultimately our goal isn't to be creative. Our goal is to make money. Our goal is to help people. So don't forget that. My name is David DeFord. If you'd like to learn more about joining DeFord Insurance Group, head on over to daviddeford.com/FAQ. There you'll learn all about how we help agents sell final expense face-to-face or over the phone, full-time and part-time, as well as selling Medicare, under 65 health insurance, and annuities. Thanks for watching. See ya.